photographer, business educator, and aspiring writer, mother, and wife of three girls. Wife and mother of three girls. After earning her degree in studio photography, she opened her first portrait studio in 2007. She specializes in creating custom wall art for her clients. Her studio is located in downtown Silverton, Oregon. She's taught photographers throughout the country and loves working with other creative entrepreneurs to build their business. Please welcome Annie Sennett.
All right, I'm excited to be here. First, I'm going to tell the story about Megan. She was a senior that I had come in a few years ago. And we were doing her senior portraits. Her dad came along to her session. And we were doing pictures in wild fields and stuff. And then we ended up in this little creek at a park that was surrounded by oak trees. And she's in the water and I'm taking pictures. And then suddenly this squirrel comes dropping out of one of the trees and jumps into the water and it starts swimming along. And she's like, that's so cute, take pictures, take pictures. And I took some pictures and then suddenly the squirrel stopped swimming. And she goes into a panic. She's like, Dad, you've got to save the squirrel. And so her dad, like a good dad that he is, starts taking off his shoes. And then she goes on to full panic and she's like, Dad, you have to save him right now. And so he jumps in with his socks still on and his pants and he scoops up the little squirrel and puts it on the side. And then I saw something that I never thought I'd saw. He did squirrel CPR. He started doing little chest compressions on this squirrel and the little guy made it. It was a great session, but I feel like this is kind of like being an entrepreneur. Sometimes you're the one swimming along and everyone's looking at you and admiring you and you're doing a great job. And then sometimes you're the one that's drowning and you need the help of others. We all need help along the way, whether the form of mentors or continuing education. And then sometimes you're the one on the side doing the little chest compressions, helping somebody else out. And I'm just really grateful that I can be here today to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned throughout owning a portrait studio. I opened my first studio 13 years ago, and basically, I take pictures of people. My studio is in a town, Silverton, Oregon. It's about 10,000 people, so it's a small town. My studio's downtown in our little town, and we're just east of Salem, Oregon. And all of my clients have a camera in their pocket. Most of their kids, and if they're 12 or up, they usually have a camera too. They all have friends that have cameras that would be happy to take pictures of them. They all know a handful of photographers because in my little town, there's probably 50 people that call themselves professional photographers. And even some of those professional photographers are actually pretty talented. So why, and those photographers are only charging $50 a session. So why, if they're charging $50 a session, are they coming to me and spending $2,000, upwards of $4,000 with me? And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. First, I want to talk to you about a bag of grass seed. So the grass seed costs about $20. And my husband and I moved into the country a few years ago and it's just half an acre. And our yard was so lumpy, the kids would run around and sprain their ankles. And there was more weeds than grass. And so we could have gone out and spent $20 and got a few bags and planted the grass ourselves. But instead, we spent $8,000 and hired someone to come and plant the grass for us. And the reason why is because they came in and they tilled our yard and made it perfectly flat. They added sprinkler systems in. They paid attention. They asked us what our future landscaping plans were, and they paid attention to that so we could adjust our sprinkler system accordingly. They knew we wanted to do automatic watering systems. They offered to winterize it. That's what we're paying for. But most importantly, what we were paying for was we had our weekends free to be with our kids, free of DIY projects. And if anyone is married and has done any home renovation projects, they gave me and my husband free of the fights or the stress that comes with trying to do a renovation project of that magnitude. But most importantly, what they gave us is the vision of what our life would be like with this beautiful lawn. We, pictured having barbecues with friends out there. We pictured the kids playing kickball, running around, laying on the grass, reading books. So that's really what we paid for. Yes, we did pay for their services, but we really paid for all of that vision that they were giving to us. And so that's what I do for my clients. Now, I know some of you guys are probably thinking I'm a little crazy for spending $8,000 on grass. But you guys all have things that you spend more money on compared to a little bit of a luxury compared to your income. So whether it's an iPhone, whether you're spending twice for a name brand item at the grocery store compared to the generic, whether you are going to the movie theater rather than waiting for it to come out on DVD, you pay, there's certain things that you're willing to pay more for. And so that's what I'm looking for in clients, that I'm looking for clients that are wanting to pay for that experience. Not everybody's willing to pay for it, but I don't have to photograph everybody. I just have to photograph I just have to have a certain number of clients every year that are willing to do that. There we go. Don't be the bag of grass seed. So now there's a lot of photographers out there that charge equivalent to that $20 bag of grass seed. But I don't want to be in that range. If I were to get into that group, then it's a quick race to the bottom where everyone's trying to outprice each other, and it's a quick race, a race that I don't want to win. And when you compete on price, there's always somebody willing to come in for cheaper. There's always someone new to the market, somebody who is willing to do it for less. And that's something I don't want to compete on. So I want to be that $8,000 lawn. And so what I offer my clients, when they come in, I do a consultation before every session where I go over clothing and location, how they can look their best. I help them pick out their outfits. I help them plan their wall layout. And after I print all their photos, I will come to their home and hang it for them if they want. And so that's what they are paying for. But beyond just like the physical product, I'm giving them that experience. I really have them, by the time they're done with their session, they're feeling really good about their family. We hang their portraits and they get to see their portraits of their kids on the wall. And in the midst of all the chaos of life, they get to look at their kids and be like, yeah, I really do still love them. And so I'm connecting, like they're gonna have these portraits, the quality that I give people will last, they're 100 years, and hopefully more, but they'll have those portraits to be able to sit down with their grandkids and share the stories of what their grandkids' parents were like at that time. I'm giving them that memory of their kids at that time. And so that's really what they're paying for, that experience of everything. It's beyond just that physical product, but they're paying for how it makes them feel. So how do I get those clients? So one thing I do is I create first off, my first few years into my business, I photographed 2 different families in the same week. One family, the dad was an eye surgeon and the mom was a writer, and they lived in a beautiful historic home just a few doors down from the Oregon governor's mansion. The other family was a single mom, and she was a full-time student getting her master's, so she wasn't working at that time, and they both had 2 kids. And so I did their sessions, and they came in for their ordering appointments, and I was so excited for the eye surgeon's family to come in because I knew they've got to have a lot of money. And so the mom came in, she placed her order. It was $700 order, which was okay at that time in my studio. She was shocked at the prices, even though I went over all the prices with her beforehand. And she quickly lowered her order to $200. She only got a couple portraits and was good with that. And I just felt defeated. And then I had the single mom come in, and she looked at her portraits, and they both loved the portraits. It wasn't a matter of if they liked them, but she just valued it so much. She was so excited. She ordered $1,200 in portraits, which was a large sell for me at that time. And it's been many years, and I just saw her last week, and she just still talks about these portraits. She has 3 canvases in her home. And so it's really a matter of finding those people that value it. And I realized I really don't know my ideal client at that time. I just thought it was the family with the most money. And so now I have created a sketch of my ideal client, and I like to call her Julie. And so what I do is I have a very specific person in mind when I do my marketing. I've written down everything about Julie, like where does she work? What does she do for fun? Is she married, kids? What does her husband do? What kinds of causes does she support? And I also go deeper than that. Like what are some of her hopes, her fears, some of her insecurities? And when I market specifically to Julia or to Julie, then I am marketing to, there's not just one Julie out there, there's lots of Julies. But if I were to create a broad description of my clients, then I'm trying to appeal to the masses, and it waters down the marketing, and then it really doesn't appeal to anyone. When I try to appeal to a very specific group, I create a very loyal following amongst those people. And so I really challenge you that when you open up your business, that you really consider get very specific about who your ideal client is. And when you're starting out, you're not going to know all the details, but what you do, just over time, as you do interact with your clients, then take your best clients and adjust your client sketch based on your best clients. Because I was surprised, with my client, it is not the most rich family out there. And so it's been really great that everything I do when I try and market, I'm like, would Julia like this? Does she want to hear this? Is this important to her? Now, my competitors all, like in photography, social media is a very big place to market. And that's where most of my competitors are marketing. The problem is, Julie is not there. There's other clients out there that need photography services where they're on social media, so that's a great way for them to connect to their clients. But when I'm trying to connect to somebody who wants the full experience, she's not really on social media. So if I want to connect with somebody that's different than my competitors are connecting with, I have to go somewhere else. I can't, if I go into social media, there's so much noise there. I'd have to be louder than everybody else around for them to hear. But if say social media is where your ideal client is, and that's where your competitors are, that's okay. You just got to find a different message. So if they're on there always pitching sales and promotions, then do something different. Maybe you're posting something educational or inspiring or entertaining. Just be different. Seth Godin, I really like his analogy, where if you're driving in the country and you see your first cow, you're like, wow, that's so cool, there's a cow. And then you keep driving along and you just see more and more cows that you don't really notice them anymore, and they just kind of blend into the background. But if you suddenly saw a purple cow, you'd be like, whoa, and it would get your attention again. So you need to be different than everyone around you. You need to do something different so that you stand out and you can be that purple cow. So the majority of my marketing I do is through connections. In the book, The Gogiver, which I highly recommend, they said, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. So that's my goal, is for people to know, like, and trust me. And when they know, like, and trust me, then they want to do business with me. And so that's what I base all my marketing around, is connecting with people. So one of the things I do is I go to a monthly or a weekly women's business group, and there's lots of networking groups out there, whether chamber or there's just lots out there. So you can find something that works for you. I go to the business group, but I don't bring a bunch of business cards to pass out. Don't be that person. And I don't go there looking to book clients. I go there solely for the purpose to connect with people. So I see how can I connect with these different people? How can I, if somebody has a need and I need to connect them with somebody else I know, I do that. Or if I can refer a business to somebody else, there was a lady there who wanted to she wanted to be a baker, and so I knew somebody else who who needed a baker, and so able to connect those. And when I've gone to this business group, by making these connections, they've all grown to know, like, and trust me. And my business has grown so much through this group, more than if I had been the person that came and handed out the business cards. I've been given lots more opportunities. They've invited me to different things that I would have never had that ability to. So get out there and get to know your people without being the one asking for things. Be there to give to them. Another thing I do is I host events at my studio. So some of the events are free. Like I did Christmas ornaments, kids making Christmas ornaments during Christmas time. Because I'm in the downtown, we have a First Friday event, the first Friday of the month, where the businesses stay open later. And so I do different things there. I've hosted book clubs and business groups. Some of them are low cost, like I do photography camps for kids in the summer. I've done mom's photography classes. None of those bring me in very big money. but it gets me away getting to know people. When I can get them into the studio and interact with them, then that gets me that know, like, and trust. That's so important. Another thing is I work with local charities. They do auctions, and so I like to participate in these auctions. And I sell gift certificates. And this is a great way for the auctions to raise money. I've been able to help raise thousands of dollars every year for these charities, charities that are really important to me. My clients get these gift certificates, and it's a good deal for them because they can purchase them for about a fourth of the price of, they cost $99 for a $425 value. When they come into my studio, they can get free portraits with that and walk away, but nobody really does. They always purchase more, and often significantly more. And so it's a win-win for the charity, for me and my clients. And it's also, that's exactly where Julie's hanging out, and that's where I want to be, is connecting there. Some other things is I connect with other businesses in a similar target market. So I have a hairstylist that's been a client of mine, and I went and I said, hey, can I do some new portraits for you? And I will create Christmas cards that you can send out to your clients. And on the Christmas cards, it has a gift certificate for a session and a little bit of credit. And I make it from her because I want her to look really good to her clients. I want her to be the winner in this situation. And so by going to the business owners, when you approach somebody with co-marketing, you go in there with at least 2 ways you can benefit them before you ask for anything. So there I was offering to give her portraits of her kids, and I was offering to give her a gift that she could give out to her best clients. And in return, she's referring people to me. And I've done that promotion with different businesses. And so it's a great way for them. It doesn't cost them anything. It costs me time and the cost of the Christmas cards, which is very minimal, but it's an all-around win for all of us. So always think about, when you go into a new relationship, think about how can I make their business better? How can I improve their life? Something else, send handwritten thank you cards. Like, how often do you get mail? Just writing a thank you card. Your clients are what build your business. And that is really appreciated when you can show that appreciation to them. And very few people do that. Show love to local businesses. I love to, if business posts on social media, I like it or comment. I had a new home decor shop that opened around the corner from me, and so I went in, and it was really cute. I took a picture, and I asked her if I could post that in our town Facebook group. I posted it and got a lot of people talking about her business and bringing awareness. And then just a couple months later, she was in with her own family doing family portraits. And I didn't ask, I wasn't asking anything of her. I was just like, hey, this is an awesome business. I want to share that. And so I often build up the businesses around me. Another thing is you can get to know your competitors. I don't photograph weddings, and so I refer all of my weddings out to other photographers. I'm one of the few photographers in my town that have a studio, so other photographers refer people to me. JFK said, a rising tide lifts all boats. I really believe in community over competition. There's enough business to go around that we can all lift each other up. And your competitors can actually be a great source of referrals, because when you have your competitors, you're not all doing the same thing. If you're in a retail shop, how often have you been somewhere and they don't have what you want, and you're like, do you know anywhere where I can buy this? And they refer you to somebody else. Get those good relations with your competitors, because it really does pay off. Create an email list. So I've heard it described as a wheel, where your website and your email are at the center of the wheel, and all the spokes should be like your social media or different things like that. If you make social media the base of all of your connections, the algorithms are always changing. When I started out 13 years ago, you could go and, I didn't have Facebook that many years ago, but when I did get on Facebook, you could just, as a business, you could just post something and everybody who liked your page would see it. But now the algorithms have changed where you really have to pay to be able to connect. So you can make a post and you could have 1,000 followers and only 30 will see it. And so you have no control over that. You could lose your account. Something could happen. You have no control. So have everything. It's great to have that stuff, but have everything come back to your website, because the website is something that you own. Your email list is something that you own. And that is a way where you guarantee where you can connect with your clients. Another thing is ask for reviews. It's a great way. Post your reviews on your website. Include them on your marketing materials. People really like to hear that other people have enjoyed the experience with you. And then my last that I do is get a referral program. I always tell my clients the best compliment they can give me is a referral. That shows that they really appreciated what I did and they want their friends to have that same experience. And so when they refer people to me, I always give my client a gift certificate that they can spend on their own. And so it all comes down to connections. My studio is next door to a cheesecake shop, and the owner, Jen, she has opened up about her life. She had a very neglectful childhood. She left an abusive marriage, and she's doing all she can to raise her 3 boys on her own. And she has made it her mission to give back. In her business, every month she chooses a different charity or organization or group that has that same vision of giving back to the community, and she gives them a free cheesecake. She has employed hard to employ people like a man with autism, and by sharing her message with people, it makes them more loyal. They really know, they love her, and they trust her, and by doing that, she's created this volume where they're always coming back to her for cheesecake. So try and find those connections. Connect on something beyond your latest sale or promotion. Connect on the human level. All right. So if I want my average client to spend $2,000, I have to create a $2,000 experience. Just because they have money to spend doesn't mean they're going to come in and spend it on me. So I have to really create that experience. And so I talked earlier about having them come in for the consultations and doing all these things different to build them up. I've really spent that time creating this experience that is worth that money. So one of the things that we were in the orthodontist this last week, and I have 3 girls, and we were sitting waiting for my oldest to get out of her appointment, and the receptionist comes over and says, "Hey, would you girls like some hot cocoa?" And my girls were like, "Yes, let's get a hot cocoa." And so she came out and she brought these little travel mugs with their logo on it, of course, with the hot cocoa, and they got to keep the mugs. And my little 6-year-old was like, "That's so awesome. They're so cool. I want to go there when I get my braces." And so when you create these experiences, like they probably spent like maybe $3 a piece on those mugs, and in return, we're probably going to spend $12,000 with them over the years. It's really easy where you can create these wow experiences for your clients. The problem is most people don't do it. Lots of people can come up with great ideas of how you can wow your clients, but most people don't. So when you really do make that difference, I mean, how often have you been in a waiting room and they've brought you hot cocoa in a mug you got to keep? I mean, that's pretty cool. So if you can think of ways in your business where you can wow your clients, they will not only be loyal to you, but they'll talk about it. Like, I'm sure my daughter Lainey is going to go around with her little mug and be like, "Look, I got this." And so that just makes people so excited. Let's go into sales. All right. So my sales process starts at the consultation. They come in and they touch everything. They get to feel the albums. They get to see all the different portraits. I really want to have them, they come into the consultation and they're not paying anything at that. They might pay for the session fee, and depending if they're from an auction or not. But they're not buying anything. So they can dream as big as they want. They could say, "Hey, I want this large wall portrait. There's no money." So I get them dreaming about what they really want. And so really my sales begins at the consultation. And probably most of my sales happens at the consultation because that's really what I want to get them excited about. Then at their session, I continue to encourage that sale. So by saying when their kids are doing like goofy faces or stuff like that, I'll take a picture and be like, "That would be a great image in the album." That just shows so much personality, and that just reaffirms everything that they want, what they're ready to order. So when they come in for their ordering appointment, I want them already coming in ready to buy with the chance that they would say no, rather than coming in as a no, like thinking that they might change it to a buy. So I really want them coming in, and when they're at the sales appointment, it's all about picking out what their photos are and making the little tweaks. So you got to think about how can you sell your client before you actually have anything for sale. So I have an artist friend. She gets paintings from thrift stores, and she redoes them with pop culture, with images in it. So she has a beachscape, and she has SpongeBob and Patrick running down the beach. She has another one where, this is my favorite because of my age and growing up in Oregon, but she has this landscape, and it has a wagon from the Oregon Trail video game. I don't know if any of you guys know that, but she has the wagon, and it says on there, "You have died of dysentery." And so she just has these really cool paintings that she does. And so over the weeks and months before it's even for sale, she's doing all these sneak peeks and previews of it, showing her process. And so everyone's excited. And so she has them ready to buy the minute it goes for sale. So think about what in your experience can you pre-sell to your clients so that they're ready to spend that money. And then, so when we get to that sales appointment, I think I mentioned how I take pictures of their home. And so this is a picture of my client's home here. This one I took, and so when they came in, I had this picture here, and then I'm able just to put their photo on top. And so they wanted one large portrait, but I could have easily come in and thrown a series of 4 images there. I was able to show them small. A lot of people come in and be like, I want the big one, the 8x10, which big is like, I mean, that's like a size of a paper. I want to get like big. So when I show them here, they can really see, oh yeah, that fits much better in that space. And so that's one way that, so yes, I am selling them bigger, but I'm also making sure that I'm doing it through serving them in what's best for them. I really believe in what I do. And so when I tell them, this is the size that you need for this space, and if it's at that point where they're like, I don't know if that I can spend that, then I work with them like, well, okay, how can we get a size that's within your budget and find somewhere else in your home where it will work? Because I really want this portrait to look beautiful. So maybe we'll find a smaller wall. But my clients trust me. Clients really want to feel like, they really like the opinions of experts, but they don't like feeling like they're being sold to. And so the difference is trust. By the time I've done consultation, session, ordering appointment, they really trust me. So when I say this is the size that you need in that space, then they're like, yes, I believe you, that's what we need to do. And then if they're doing the custom framing, I say this is what frame would look best in your space, and they're like, yes, let's do it. And so if you can get that level of trust with your clients, they will listen to you. Another thing that clients really like is they really like to know that they like to follow a crowd. They like to do what other people are doing. So how many of you guys go to Rotten Tomatoes before going and seeing a movies, and you want to make sure that it gets good reviews and other people have liked it before you've spent the time going to that movies? And so I just reassure, like I tell my clients, this is what most of my clients have done. Most people do a large wall, a large impact image, and most of them get an album. And so by saying those things, and it's true, like don't lie to your clients, but this is really what they do, then it just reaffirms and gives them that comfort that, okay, it's okay for us to spend this. This is what other families are doing. Because I do a lot of the families that come in for portraits have not done family portraits at least in 5 years. Some never, but a lot of them, they're coming in because they don't regularly go to the photographer. And so they're not quite sure what they want. So by giving them that reassurance from listening to who they view as an expert, by listening to what everybody else around them does, it just helps seal the deal for that sale. Now to get to that, to get to that pricing though, I have to make sure, if I want everyone to get to that $2,000 sell, I have to make sure that they can't order everything on my menu and still be under $2,000. So I have to be priced appropriately. So some of the things that I do are, well, first off, my first year in business, a mom hired me. And this was a great session. The mom was a super talented knitter, and she had 2 teenage sons. And she wanted a family photo with her husband, and her 2 teenage sons, and they had a collie dog. And she wanted to knit them all sweaters. So you guys can imagine how awesome that would be to wear matching knitted sweaters that your mom made. These boys were thrilled, as you can imagine. And so we had this planned, and The morning of the session, she calls me and she says, Annie, I have been working so hard knitting these sweaters, but my youngest son, I didn't finish it. And so I get to the session, and they're in all their knitted glory, but the youngest son has one full-length arm and then one arm that goes to his elbow. And so that just made it even more awesome for these kids that they got these, that they knew that they were going to get these family portraits in their sweaters that will last forever and be recorded for all time on their family wall. And so they weren't too thrilled to be there. But we had a lot of fun. And I did different posing, hiding his arm behind his brother or the dog. And then when the mom came into my studio for the sales appointment, at that point I was new, and I only offered prints and only up to 16 by 20. And I didn't do canvases or frames because they were really expensive, and I didn't think anyone would spend that. And one thing to remember in business is you're not always your ideal client. So there, we were freshly out of college, and my husband was still in college. We were very broke, and so I'm like, oh, that's really expensive. Nobody's going to spend that. But I didn't realize that my clients are different than me. And so she came in, and I showed her what I offered, and she's like, that's it. That's all you have. She knew that this was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing to get these boys in for family portraits with these beautiful sweaters, and she wanted it big and on canvas and framed. And so I knew that I needed to offer more than that. So I started a 3-tier pricing structure. So it's a good, better, best system. And so what I do is within my wall art, I have my canvas. I have my custom framed is my top option, my most expensive option. My middle option is my canvas gallery wraps, and my third option is another canvas. And when I have these 3 different pricing, then 80% of my clients go with the canvas gallery wrap. Or 80%, I don't know if I said 85, it's 80% go with that. 15% go with the custom framing, and 5% go with the lowest option. When you have 3 different options, most people want the middle. When you go with the lowest, people don't want to appear cheap, or they're not sure about the quality. With the highest, they think, oh, maybe that's a little indulgent, or I don't need to spend that much. That they really want the middle option. And so I price accordingly, knowing that that's what most of my clients are going to go to. And classic fairy tale reaffirms that with Goldilocks and the 3 bears. We don't want our porridge too hot or too cold. We want it just right. And then in the book Priceless, The Myth of Fair Value, MIT professor William Poundstone, he did an experiment where he offered 2 different kinds of beers for consumers to drink. One a higher quality and one the lower quality. 80% of them went with the higher quality. But then he added a 3rd tier, the highest quality, and once he added something above that, then 85% went with the middle. And so it just kind of shifts. By having that more expensive item, it makes the middle price look so much better. And I always show my most expensive item first, because if it's like a $1,000 item, then they're like, I don't know about that. But then we go down to the middle and it's maybe $750, and they're like, oh wow, that sounds really good. Whereas if I showed them the $750 first, they would have had that same experience, that same feeling as when they had that 1,000. So I start at the highest and go lowest and lowest. Whereas if you start low, they'll progressively, like you start at 500 and you go to 750, they're like, ooh, where's this leading to? And it goes up to 1,000, they're like, wow, that's way too much. So really start high. It's so much easier to scale your sale back than trying to raise it. Some other things are, let's see. With my smaller prints, I do with my 8x10s, 5x7s, I have them all priced the same. So a lot of people come in and they get decision overload. And with my smaller prints, my profit margin is really good on those. When I started out, I had them all priced differently. So maybe there was like a $15 price difference between the different sizes, like from a 4x6 to 5x7. So people would be spending a lot of time trying to make the decision, like, do we like grandma enough to spend $15 more to send her an 8x10? Or are we good with just sending her a 5x7? And it was a small part of the sale, but it just took up so much of their energy. So I eliminated that and just said everything is going to be priced the same at that smaller point. And so it eliminated decisions. They could just pick out what was best for their family, and we could focus all of their energy on those high ticket items. Have you guys ever been shopping and you go to a store and you're ready to buy something, but there's just too many decisions and you're afraid to make a bad decision, so you make no decision at all? it took us a year to buy a mattress because I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy a bad mattress. So we stuck with a mattress that we didn't really like just because I was afraid of getting a bad one. We experience that all the time. If there's just too many options, we pull back. So I want to make sure that there's not too many options. So by eliminating those decisions, we can focus on the high ticket items. Another thing I do is I create collections. Everybody loves a good sale. So JCPenney used to be a great place for families to go and buy their clothes. And then sales started to go down. And in 2012, they hired a new marketing director. And they decided, we're going to eliminate the coupons. They were really big on coupons. We're going to eliminate the coupons and just make everything priced everyday low prices. So they dropped their prices 40%. And you would think that people would be excited because it was actually less expensive. You didn't have to worry about the coupons. But the coupons created a sense of urgency. They created a sense of like winning the system. They created like, wow, I got this great deal. And people love that feeling. And so JCPenney's, their sales actually went down 20% and they lost millions of dollars. And so they eliminated that and brought back the coupons. And so what I do is I have my a la carte pricing. Everything is priced individually, but if they want to do a collection, then they save money. A collection for me is if they order wall portraits like this, albums, and gift prints. If they order from each category, then they get 20% off the a la carte pricing. Now, all of my a la carte pricing is listed as a whole number, like $750, $800, because in the consumer's mind, a zero at the end indicates like luxury, like a nice item. And then all of my collection pricing ends in the 99 or in a 9, and that indicates a sell. And so people get excited. There's just little things in your mind that can make a difference. And so by doing it, when I have the a la carte, they get 20% off, and 20% is a good sale. If you get 5% off, like people don't pay attention. 10%, maybe some people will get excited about 10%, but 20% is where people start to get excited for sales. And then the other thing I do is I do a value added incentive with my collections, because everything with my studio is all about the wall portraits. I want everyone to get a wall portrait. That's what I believe in. And so I don't sell digitals because that would go against my brand. That would go against everything I teach my clients. But they still really want them. So when I do a collection, then I give them the digitals for free. It costs me nothing except a tiny bit in storage, but that's negligible. And so by adding something that's low cost to me, but huge value, it makes it so that 95% of my clients come in ready to buy a collection. So when you, with your own business, you can think about how can I, by doing the value added incentives, how can I keep my sale high and add a bonus? So it could be like maybe you're offering a free upgrade, or maybe a free shipping, or you see those sales like $50 purchase and you get a free item. So by adding a value added incentive, it really makes my collection deal too good to say no to. So some things to think about when doing promotions is, one, it needs to be mutually beneficial. So by doing my collections, I'm raising my average sale significantly than if I did a la carte. So there they get a good discount and they're excited about it, but I get a higher sale. And so I make more money. So it's a win for both of us. Some other things to consider are if you're doing some sort of packages or something, say you're like a car dealer or car detailer, and you need to have a $75 average per client to make your sales goals, and you have packages at $55, $65, $75. You're never going to make your sales goals because most people are going to go with that middle option. So when you think about your package pricing, needs to raise your sales to where they need to be and not hinder your sales. And then you think, like, if you are going to do a sale that lowers your prices, you have to think, is by lowering my prices, is it going to increase my quantity so that I have a greater profit margin? If it's just going to lower your sales and you make less money, then it's probably not a great option to do. You want your promotions to be a benefit to your clients, but also a financial benefit to you. Okay, and then I'm just going to say one more thing is I have these clients that want to be my clients, but they're not quite at that range. So I do offer one more promotion. I do these little mini sessions in the studio, and they cost $29. My average sale for those is $400, but they take me about an hour worth of time, and I get so many people in. I can just do session after session. And so it's a great way. If you can broaden your reach to some people who might not typically be your client, and get those people into your studio to kind of get like a little taste of what you offer. And by doing these sessions, it gives you the opportunity where they can get to know you and lead into your family, like your bigger promotion. So every time I do these, I've had people go on and book the bigger sessions. And so that's been a great way. Think about how you have your ideal target market and you really want to go to that. But then also think, how can we, maybe during your slow time when you don't have that going on, you can reach those other people. I think we have a few minutes left that I want to turn over to questions from you guys. If you guys have any questions about my business or anything like that. Yes?
What would prevent people from buying your collective package from just getting the digitals and printing them out at like Costco or Walmart?
Yeah, so they can. So they get the digital so they can print everything. But to get a collection, they have to have a wall portrait, an album, and gift print. So by that point, they have everything that they need, and that they often do go to those places, because if they want mass pictures to send to all their different families, then they can do that. But I've covered everything that they're going to buy from me. And surprisingly, even though they can, like my minimum is 5 gift portraits to qualify for a collection. And so they could just get the digitals and print out 20 more, but I often have people that order significantly more just so that they don't have to worry about it and they know it's going to be good quality, and it's one less thing for them to think about. Some people order the bare minimum to get that collection, but most people, they're like, I just want it done and not have to worry about it.
So what made you decide not to do wedding photography?
I really don't want to have my weekends in the summer booked out a year and a half in advance. To me, family time is really important. And so I like to be able to choose my own schedule. And to me, like when you're a wedding photographer, I know there's some people that love it, but I really like to have more control over my schedule than that. And as a wedding photographer, you can't. The weddings are when they are. Yeah.
How do you deal with travel in your pricing?
So I know that if I travel, I go to people's homes for sessions, or people have vacation homes. If I do that, I know that their sale is going to be higher. When they're putting that much effort in, those clients will spend more money. And so there are times where, like, I've traveled and we had to stay overnight. And so I did charge a travel fee for that. But for the most part, if it's like in an hour, there's no travel fee, because when they're investing that kind of money, that kind of time themselves, they'll be spending more.
Do you see yourself like expanding at all, or like grooming someone to be able to create the experiences that you can create? Like, do you have any employees or anything?
I don't. I didn't talk about it, but I outsource everything I can. If I can pay somebody $15 an hour to do it, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to outsource it. I outsource my retouching. I outsource my printing. I outsource like the packaging, putting the photos together. So I don't have an employee. Employees work for them, and maybe eventually I'll have an employee that can do that. And long-term plans, I'm doing more business education for other photographers. And I see myself growing in that direction versus growing my studio to photograph more. But I think that's important. Always have your bigger goals. Like, what's next? Where are you moving to? Yes?
How do you deal with people who aren't your perfect client?
Well, I do a consultation and I give them all the information. And so when I do the consultation, my goal at the consultation is not necessarily to book. My goal at the consultation is to weed out the clients that really want what I offer and want to spend the money what I offer, and the other ones, I will tell them, like, it is an investment. If you're not ready for this, there's lots of other photographers out there, and I really encourage people, like, I really want you to do family portraits, even if you go to another photographer, even if you have a friend that takes them. So I really try and weed them out at the consultation, because I really don't want to spend the time taking pictures of them coming into my studio, loving their pictures, and not being able to take that home. Like, to me, that's too sad. So I really try to weed them out at that consultation. And I talk to them on the phone before the consultation, so that weeds out some. But at the consultation, I probably have about a 50% book rate at my consultation.
This is more of like like how you work, like you're paying. So can people have a full session and then come back and be like, thanks, but like we can't take them home?
Like,
is that what I'm just kind of clarifying what you said. So someone can get a full session done and then come back, they're talking with you and say, look, like we actually can't do this?
Yeah, so they just buy whatever they want. So they come and do the session and they buy the portraits, the wall portraits, the albums, but if they're like, oh, we're not gonna do that, like we're not gonna buy anything, they can do that.
Do you still charge them for time or anything like
Nope.
that, or is that just kind of a...
No, so I have the cost of my session fee, but I do a lot of promotions with like the auction, they get a free session. At the first Fridays, they can sign up for a free session. So I have a lot of ways because I want people to be able to come to me with low investment, kind of break down that barrier. Because if I take their picture, if they're my ideal client and I take the picture, I know I can sell to them. But yeah, it has happened. And to me, like as far as my sales, what's most important to me is my averages. So like I don't base business decisions on like one client. So if I have a bad experience or a great experience, I can't base all my decisions on those extremes. I have to say, what are my averages? Is what I'm doing giving me that average what I need? And so there's been some sales that come in and have been low, and then others. I did a cake smash for a 1-year-old, and they spent $3,400, like seeing their kids smash a cake. Like, so it's all about the averages. Any other questions? Yep.
What would you say your average for, I don't know, weekly or monthly for your ideal customer that will spend that $2,000 for?
So I do 50 family sessions a year. And then I also do sports photography. That like 1 month last year, I did 1,000 kids in 1 month, and I averaged $25 a kid for that. But I do that for different, so I have like different streams. I do my business portraits; those average about 400. So like, I have multiple aspects of my business. I kind of have a good, better, best system within my sessions. My high volume sports. My better is my kids' mini sessions, and then my best is my family. So I kind of have different streams. I don't want to put it all in one area, and so I spread it between these different aspects.
So to become such a good photographer, did you go to school? Was it just practice?
So I did go to school in photography. I have my degree in studio photography. I've been doing it for 13 years. I really believe in the importance of continuing education, so I've gone to photography conferences and tried to improve my skills. But honestly, I don't think I'm like the best photographer out there. There's lots of good photographers. I think really like when you have a skill like this, like really to be successful, it comes down to knowing your business and pricing right and marketing right. But yeah, I do have my degree in photography, but that's not a prerequisite to being a successful photographer.
We are probably out of time. I just want to say a couple things. There were so many outstanding principles and suggestions. Find your Julia, selling by serving. The difference between being sold to and an expert opinion is trust. Don't be a bag of grass seed. Outstanding advice. We would like to present Annie Smith with the Cedar Award. This is made from cedar wood, and we hope that this will you will think of this and remember your trip to Cedar City.
Very cool. I'll put that in my studio. Thank you.